Unexpected encounter. Captain Lena Sorensen stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid, flagship of the United Earth Space Fleet. She gazed out at the unfamiliar star system sprawling before them on the view screen, its swirling nebula clouds painted in vibrant strokes of crimson and violet. Status report. She called out to her bridge crew, the picture of calm authority even as anticipation thrummed through her veins. This far uncharted system at the very fringes of Earth's explored space had been their target for months, a potential goldmine of resources and knowledge. All systems nominal, Captain, replied her executive officer, Commander Juran Ming. Scout ships have completed initial scans of the system. No signs of sentient life or artificial structures detected. Lena nodded, the news both a relief and a disappointment. First contact with a new alien civilization would have been monumental for humanity, but an uninhabited system ripe for peaceful colonization and study was the next best outcome. Helm, bring us in closer to the fourth planet, she ordered. Prep survey teams tow. Captain, called out Ensign Avapaddle from the ops station, her voice pitched high with alarm. New sensor contacts, bearing 227 Mark 6. Multiple ships approaching at high speeds. Lena whirled to face the view screen, eyes widening as new stars burst into being, rapidly growing into the distinct shapes of spacecraft. Dozens, then hundreds winked into existence, formations coalescing around gargantuan vessels that dwarfed the Intrepid like wolves surrounding a rabbit. A cold spike of fear jabbed through her gut, quickly suppressed by years of training. She glanced at Ming, saw her exo's face mirror her own shock and dismay. They hadn't had the faintest hint of an ambush. And now the Intrepid and her small fleet of exploration vessels were clearly outmatched by the newcomers in sheer numbers and tonnage. Tense seconds passed as Lena weighed her options, the only sounds the chirping of sensor alerts and the hum of the Intrepid's engines. Then the comm panel chimed, harsh and urgent in the stillness. "We're being hailed, Captain," said Chief Communications Officer Liu Jian. "Text and audio only." Straightening her uniform jacket, Lena nodded. On speakers, a voice thundered through the bridge, deep and imperious, each word sharp as a cracking whip. "Attention unidentified vessels. You have violated the sovereign territory of the Galactic Imperium. Power down your ships and prepare to be boarded. You will surrender your crews and cargoes for processing. Any resistance will be met with lethal force. You have 60 seconds to comply." A heavy silence fell as the transmission ended. Lena fought back the urge to laugh, a tinge of hysteria coloring the impulse. Of all the first contacts she'd imagined, all the scenarios she and the fleet had trained for, this was so far beyond the pale it ventured into the absurd. Ming stepped to her side, lowering his voice. "Orders, Captain. The scout ships might be able to escape back to the nearest Argus buoy with warning if we buy them time." But Lena shook her head. Reaching out to the arms of her command chair, she keyed the fleet-wide comm channel, her voice steady and sure. "This is Captain Sorensen to all Earth ships. We are emissaries of the United Earth government on a mission of peaceful exploration. Initiate first contact protocols but maintain yellow alert." She met Ming's concerned gaze, a humorless smile quirking her lips, and ready the Prometheus device, just in case our new friends aren't feeling talkative. In the depths of the Intrepid's engineering section, Chief Engineer Katya Volskaya grinned fiercely as the captain's orders rang out. Around her, the faces of her engineering team reflected her own savage joy. The arrogant Imperials fought to bully humanity with brute numbers and outdated hulks. They had no idea of the technological leaps Earth had made in its short centuries as a spacefaring power. Prometheus would show them the error of their ways. Still smiling, Katya began powering up the device that would, if needed, bring the Imperium to its knees. The galaxy would learn not to underestimate humanity. Diplomatic impasse. The view screen flickered and resolved into an image that made Lena's heart sink. The Imperial Bridge was a cavernous expanse of polished black metal and crimson banners, the ostentatious display of wealth and power at odds with the utilitarian functionality of the Intrepid's command center. And in the center of it all, seated on a raised throne that reminded Lena of historical holos of ancient kings, was a creature that could only be the Imperial Admiral. Towering and barrel-chested even while sitting, the alien's deep red skin was traced with jagged black tattoos that framed a face all hard angles and cruel lines. Lena rose from her chair, willing her voice to remain steady. "Greetings. I am Captain Lena Sorensen of the United Earth Space Fleet. On behalf of the United Earth government, I apologize for our intrusion into your space. Our transit into this system was an accident, not an act of aggression." The Admiral leaned forward, obsidian eyes narrowed to slits. "Your apologies mean nothing, human," he spat, venom dripping from the last word. "You have violated Imperial law, and you will face Imperial justice." Lena spread her hands, keeping her expression neutral even as anger flared in her chest. "Admiral, I assure you we come in peace. If you would allow me to explain our presence." A bark of harsh laughter cut her off. "Peace?" The Admiral sneered. "You trespass in our sovereign space and dare to speak of peace. Your primitive species knows nothing of the Imperium's might. You will submit to our authority or be destroyed." Ming stirred at Lena's side, his jaw clenched tight. Lena shot him a warning glance. Antagonizing the arrogant Imperial now would gain them nothing. "Admiral, I implore you to see reason." Lena tried again, modulating her tone to one of conciliation. "There is no need for violence between our peoples. If you would agree to meet under a flag of truce, I am certain we can come to an understanding." "Enough," the Admiral roared, surging to his feet. The screen struggled to accommodate his bulk as he loomed forward. "You will surrender your ships and crews to the Imperium, now, or you will be annihilated. This is your final warning." The screen went dark, the sudden absence of the Admiral's glowering visage almost shocking. In the silence that followed, Lena could feel the tension radiating from her bridge crew, mingled fear and anger creating a palpable aura. But beneath that, threading through the roil of emotion, was something else, a glimmer of grim amusement, the faintest shadow of a smile. Lena felt the corners of her own mouth twitch upward in response. The Imperials thought them cowed, thought them helpless in the face of overwhelming force. They had no idea what humanity was capable of, the wonders their technology could unleash. "Commander Ming," Lena said calmly, retaking her seat, "inform the fleet to prepare for hostile action, and tell Chief Volskaya to ready the Prometheus." Ming saluted, his earlier frustrations replaced by anticipatory glee. "Aye, Captain. Time to show these Imperial bastards what humans are made of." In the depths of the Intrepid, Katya Volskaya stood before a sleek black cylinder that dominated the center of her engineering section. The Prometheus device was the pinnacle of human ingenuity, a fusion of cutting-edge technology and the boundless creativity of Earth's brightest minds. And now, it would be humanity's shield against the arrogant Imperials who sought to subjugate them. Katya rested a hand on the device's smooth flank, feeling the thrum of barely contained power within. "All right, my beauty," she murmured, her smile fierce and bright. "Let's show these aliens what a primitive species can do." Hidden strengths revealed. The Imperial fleet surged forward, their formation a spear point aimed directly at the heart of the human expedition. On the Intrepid's view screen, the massive warships grew from distant specks to looming behemoths, their gun ports and missile bays yawning open like the maws of hungry beasts. "They're not even trying to talk anymore," Ming muttered, his eyes locked on the tactical display. "Guess we're past the point of diplomacy." Lena nodded grimly. The Imperials had made their intentions clear. Now it was time for humanity to respond in kind. She keyed the fleet-wide comm. "All ships, this is the captain. Prepare to engage the enemy. Stick to the plan and trust in your training. Humanity is counting on us." Affirmations flooded back, the voices of her crew and the captains of the other Earth ships steady and resolute. They knew what was at stake, knew the risks they'd all accepted when they volunteered to journey beyond the safe confines of Earth's borders. And now, in the face of an implacable foe, they would show the galaxy the mettle of the human spirit. Incoming fire, Eva called out, her voice taut. Missiles and energy torpedoes, hundreds of them. The Imperial fleet had opened up with a massive alpha strike, a wall of destruction hurtling toward the human ships. Lena felt her pulse thunder in her ears, adrenaline spiking as the swarm of hostile contacts filled the view screen. All ships, activate Aegis countermeasures. She barked. Helm, evasive pattern Delta 3. Even as the Intrepid swooped and jinked, Lena watched in breathless anticipation as the Aegis system engaged. An invisible lattice of electromagnetic energy snapped into being around the human fleet, the network of sensors and projectors working in concert to weave a shield of unimaginable complexity. The Imperial missile slammed into that shield and vanished, winking out of existence like sparks swallowed by a stiff breeze. The energy torpedoes fizzled and spat, their destructive potential neutralized by the Aegis' cunningly tuned fields. On the Imperial ships, sensor officers gaped at their displays in disbelief. In the space of a heartbeat, their overwhelming opening salvo had been rendered impotent, negated by a technology beyond their comprehension. Panic began to thread through the ranks as realization dawned. The humans were not the primitive pushovers they had assumed. Captain, the Imperials are trying to lock on with energy weapons. Mate reported, his voice taut. They're powering up for another shot. Lena's lips curled into a grim smile. Oh, I don't think so. Lieutenant Chen, initiate Phase 2. Aye, Captain. Chen keyed rapid commands into her console, interfacing with the Prometheus onboard cyber warfare suite. The device came alive, ethereal blue light, tracing along the length of its sleek frame. Tendrils of energy lashed out, invisible and intangible, questing through the void toward the Imperial ships. Like the plasma torpedoes before them, they laughed at the feeble defenses the Imperials put in their path, ghosting through firewalls and smashing encryption as though they were tissue paper. And then they were inside, Prometheus' vengeful code spilling through the Imperials' networks like a flood. Weapons systems went offline, their power grids scrambled by inexplicable surges and cascading failures. Shields flickered and died, life support stuttered, engines coughed and strained. In the space of moments, the proud Imperial fleet had been reduced to drifting hulks, their crews scrambling to restore basic functionality as Prometheus' digital wrath held them at its mercy. On the Intrepid's bridge, the crew erupted into cheers. Against all odds, their untested technologies had carried the day, laying low an adversary that had seemed unbeatable. Humanity had proven its mettle, not through brute strength, but through ingenuity and technological prowess. But Lena held up a hand, quieting the celebrations. We've won the battle, but not yet the war, she cautioned. The Imperials will not take this humiliation lightly. Lieutenant Liu, open a channel to the Imperial flagship. It's time we had a talk with our would-be conquerors. The view screen flickered, and the furious visage of the Imperial Admiral once again filled its expanse. But the arrogant sneer was gone, replaced by a mix of shock, outrage, and grudging respect. How? The Admiral snarled, his fists clenched at his sides. How did you do this? Lena stood tall, her chin raised in defiance. You underestimated us, Admiral. You saw our youth as a species and assumed we were primitive, weak. But humanity's strength has always been our adaptability, our ingenuity. Our technology may be beyond your understanding, but I assure you, it is quite real. The Admiral's eyes narrowed, but he did not immediately retort. Lena pressed her advantage. Now I believe it is time for us to have that meeting I proposed. We have much to discuss, Admiral, and I think you'll find that humanity can be a far better friend than enemy. Shall we begin? Turning the tables. The Imperial flagship's briefing room, was a far cry from the opulent grandeur of its bridge. Here, function took precedence over form, the space dominated by a large holographic display table and ringed by stark utilitarian chairs. Captain Lena Sorensen sat across from the Imperial Admiral, flanked by Commander Ming and Lieutenant Liu. The Admiral, whose name they had learned was Zoran, cut an imposing figure even seated, his bulk straining against the confines of his chair. But gone was the sneering arrogance, the dismissive contempt that had colored their earlier interactions. Now, Zoran's posture was stiff and wary, his eyes flickering between the human officers with a mix of anger and grudging respect. "You have made your point, Captain," Zoran rumbled, his deep voice tight with controlled fury. "Your technology is impressive, but do not think that this one victory gives you leverage over the Imperium. We are an empire that spans 1,000 worlds, with resources and might beyond your reckoning." Lena leaned forward, her gaze level and unflinching. "I am not here to make threats, Admiral, nor do I seek to dominate or dictate terms. I am here to open a dialogue, to find a path forward that benefits both our peoples." Zoran's eyes narrowed. "And what path would that be? You have crippled my fleet, humiliated the Imperium before the galaxy. What concessions would you demand in exchange for this insult?" Ming stirred, a retort clearly on his lips, but Lena silenced him with a glance. Turning back to Zoran, she spread her hands in a conciliatory gesture. "We demand nothing, Admiral. We did not come here seeking conquest or tribute. Our only desire is to explore, to learn, to expand the boundaries of our knowledge. And in that pursuit, we believe that cooperation will serve us far better than conflict." Zoran's brow furrowed, skepticism writ large in his craggy features. Cooperation. Between the Imperium and a primitive upstart race. Primitive. Lena arched an eyebrow. "I think we have demonstrated that human ingenuity is anything but, and therein lies the opportunity, Admiral." She stood, beginning to pace around the table. "The Imperium is vast and powerful, yes, but it is also stagnant, mired in tradition and hidebound ways of thinking. When was the last time your people made a significant technological leap? When was the last time you truly innovated?" Zoran opened his mouth to retort, then closed it again, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Lena pressed on. "Humanity, on the other hand, is young and dynamic. We are driven by an insatiable curiosity, a boundless drive to discover and create. In just a few short centuries, we have gone from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel, from the first tentative steps into our own solar system to journeys beyond our wildest imaginings." She paused, letting her words hang in the air. "Imagine what we could achieve together, Admiral. Imagine the Imperium infused with new ideas, new perspectives. Imagine your stagnant technology reinvigorated by human innovation. Imagine what our peoples could accomplish as partners rather than adversaries." Zoran was silent for a long moment, his gaze distant. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful, almost contemplative. "You paint a compelling picture, Captain, but the Imperium does not easily change its ways. There will be resistance, opposition to any alliance with an outside power." Lena nodded. "Change is never easy, Admiral. But the rewards are more than worth the struggle. And let us be frank, the alternative is a war that would cost both our peoples dearly. The Imperium may be mighty, but humanity will not submit or surrender. We will fight, and we will innovate, and in the end, both sides will bleed." She leaned forward, holding Zoran's gaze. "But it does not have to be that way. We can choose a different path, a path of cooperation and mutual benefit. It will not be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is." Zoran held her gaze for a long, tense moment. Then, slowly he nodded. "You have given me much to consider, Captain. I will need to consult with my superiors, to convey your proposal to the Imperial Court. But perhaps there is wisdom in your words. Perhaps it is time for the Imperium to embrace change, to forge a new path forward. Lena felt a surge of relief, mingled with a heady sense of possibility. It was a small step, but a vital one. A door had been opened, a chance for a new beginning. I look forward to continuing this dialogue, Admiral. Together, I believe we can build a future brighter than either of us could have imagined. A new galactic dynamic. The Imperial Palace was a marvel of architectural grandeur, its soaring spires and sweeping arches a testament to the Imperium's millennia of power and prestige. But as Captain Lena Sorensen strode through its grand halls, flanked by her trusted officers, she felt no intimidation, no awe. She had seen the truth behind the Imperium's imposing facade, a once mighty civilization grown stagnant and complacent, resting on the laurels of past glories. But now, change was in the air, a new wind blowing through these ancient corridors. The great doors of the Imperial Court swung open, revealing a vast chamber dominated by a massive throne. Upon it sat the Emperor himself, an aged figure yet still vital, his eyes sharp and assessing as they fell upon the human delegation. At his side stood Admiral Zoran, his posture rigid with formality. But there was a new light in his eyes, a glimmer of respect, and even anticipation as he regarded Lena and her crew. The Emperor rose, his robes cascading in a waterfall of shimmering silk. "Captain Sorensen," he intoned, his voice a rich baritone that filled the chamber. "You stand before the ruler of the Galactic Imperium, a power that has endured for 10,000 years. What business do you bring before us?" Lena stepped forward, her spine straight, and her gaze unwavering. "Your Majesty," she said, her voice ringing clear and strong. "I come before you not as a supplicant, but as an equal. I come to propose an alliance, a partnership that will reshape the very fabric of our galaxy." A murmur ran through the assembled courtiers, a ripple of shock and disbelief. The Emperor himself raised an eyebrow, but he did not interrupt. "The Imperium is mighty," Lena continued, "but it has grown complacent in its power. Your technology, once the marvel of the galaxy, has stagnated. Your people, once the vanguard of progress, have become mired in tradition and rigid thinking." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But humanity offers a new path. We are a young race, but we are driven by an insatiable curiosity, a ceaseless drive to explore, to discover, to innovate. In just a few short centuries, we have achieved wonders that would have seemed impossible to our ancestors." The Emperor leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. "And what would humanity offer the Imperium? What benefit would we gain from this alliance?" Lena smiled. "A renaissance, Your Majesty. A rebirth of the Imperium's glory, fueled by human ingenuity and creativity. Imagine your ships, your weapons, your very way of life infused with the boundless energy of human innovation. Imagine your people working side by side with ours, learning from each other, growing together. Imagine a galaxy where the Imperium is not just a power, but a beacon of progress and enlightenment." The court was silent now, hanging on every word. Even the Emperor seemed captivated, his eyes alight with a new fire. "You speak of great things, Captain," he said at last. "But the Imperium does not easily change its ways. There will be resistance to this new path you propose." Lena nodded. "Change is never easy, Your Majesty, but the rewards are beyond measure. And the alternative is stagnation and decline. The galaxy is vast, and there are powers beyond even the Imperium's reckoning. Only by embracing change, by continually growing and adapting, can any civilization hope to endure." She met the Emperor's gaze, her own eyes blazing with conviction. "Humanity stands ready to be your partner in this great endeavor, not as servants or subordinates, but as equals, each bringing our own strengths to the table. Together, we can forge a new future, a new galactic dynamic that will echo through the ages." The Emperor was silent for a long, charged moment. Then, slowly, he rose from his throne, his robes billowing around him. "You have spoken truth, Captain Sorensen," he said, his voice ringing with a new resolve. The Imperium has grown complacent, and it is time for change. Time for a new dawn. He extended a hand, his fingers adorned with rings of office. Let this be the beginning of a new era, a partnership between the Imperium and humanity. Let us go forth together, not as master and servant, but as friends and equals, to forge a galaxy brighter than any we have known. Lena stepped forward, clasping the Emperor's hand in her own. To a new future, she said, her smile wide and triumphant. To a new galactic dynamic. And as the court erupted in cheers, as Admiral Zoran looked on with a smile of his own, Lena knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its place on the galactic stage, not through conquest or force, but through the power of its greatest asset, the unquenchable human spirit, the drive to explore, to discover, to reach ever higher. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity would be at the forefront of this brave new era, leading the way to a future beyond imagining.